Good afternoon, everyone. I am Peter Franchot, Comptroller of the great state of Maryland, and I want to welcome everyone, particularly the folks from the small business sector who are going to give unbelievably compelling and important testimony today at this virtual press conference. But before I begin, if you are media and have questions, I ask you to email Susan O'Brien, Director of Communications at sobrien@marylandtaxes.gov, or Press Secretary Alan Brody at abrody@marylandtaxes.gov also, or send a message to the Comptroller's Facebook page if you have a specific question. I'm joined here today by several guests to discuss the future of thousands of businesses that serve as the backbone of Maryland's economy. As we all know, the past 2 years have been financially devastating to this state's business community. The Maryland Comptroller's Office estimates we lost 40,000 small businesses in the first 16 months of the pandemic. Think of that for a moment. 40,000 small businesses. Many of them had been in business for decades, family owned. And those business owners that, frankly, who have managed to survive have dealt with many challenges, including staffing shortages, supply chain issues, drastic operational changes to keep everyone safe from COVID. How many people have died in Maryland? How many people have been infected? I mean, it's just an unbelievable bunch of economic consequences following a public health calamity. It's amazing to see, however, the amount of ingenuity and what shall I call? I think it's the ability to be resilient, the resiliency of the private sector small businesses that we have witnessed in the face of adversity. While Maryland's overall economy is headed in the right direction, that does not mean everything's okay. Frankly, our small businesses will not survive the economic devastation in the absence of state support. And with each closure of a business, Maryland continues to be in danger of losing thousands of new other jobs, direct and indirect economic benefits that are negative, and community investments that each one generates. But we can stop that from happening. Findings from December's Board of Revenue estimates report the September estimates in the fiscal year 22 closeout show that the state of Maryland has an unprecedented one-time only fiscal situation. We have nearly $6 billion in unexpected revenue. Why? In part because the Comptroller's Office, directed by me, has for 2 consecutive years given a 90-day interest-free, penalty-free loan to Maryland state taxpayers, particularly small businesses, most of whose taxes come from personal income from their businesses. And instead of paying on the traditional April 15th date, each year it's been moved to July 15th. We're doing that again this year for the 3rd year in a row. It's produced almost $2 billion in unexpected surplus one-time only revenue. Most of this is also tax revenue collected from the billions of dollars, the more than $70 billion of federal and state relief dollars and stimulus funds that were pumped into the state's economy. Problem is, many of the folks that are talking today and their colleagues at the smaller end of the hospitality sector particularly, were never able to get federal or state relief. But we are, for whatever reason, the richest state in the richest country in the history of the world. Maryland is, average family income. And we have this $6 billion windfall amount of money, cash. Shouldn't be treated like ongoing revenue. And we can capitalize on this once-in-a-lifetime moment to help Marylanders and strengthen the state's long-term finances. And with careful planning, I'm confident that we can do both with this $6 billion surplus. We can and should put immediately a third of it, $2 billion, into the state's rainy day fund to ensure that we remain fiscally stable and invest an additional $2 billion in improving infrastructure across Maryland, because this is, as I said, one-time only money. It should be spent on these infrastructure projects that will not result in higher taxes down the year. The remaining $2 billion, we should use half of it to distribute $2,000 economic survival payments to 473,000 Maryland families and individuals. We should spend $500 million rebuilding our child care sector of 8,000 small private-owned child care facilities that have been hammered. We've lost over 1,000 of them because of the COVID. So 500 million should be spent on them to reconstruct that. And then the final 500 million should go, I believe, for direct financial support to hard-hit small businesses, especially those who lack the resources to access state and federal aid. We should support the mom and pop stores who represent the beating heart of the state's economy by providing direct financial relief to small businesses. I'm not talking about a 20-page application that you need a lawyer or a lobbyist to fill out. I'm talking about a check being written from the state of Maryland to the small businesses that I, as the tax collector and the tax administration, have in my records. So this is fraud-free. These are hardworking Maryland families that own small businesses and are hanging on by their fingernails. We need to send them $500 million total. It needs to be immediate. It needs to be done next week. I can deliver that money once it's authorized by the governor and the legislature within 24 hours. Needs to be immediate, needs to target small businesses and hard-hit industries, particularly minority-owned and women-owned entities. I mentioned the child care. The 8,000 child care for-profit small businesses are primarily owned by minorities and women. And we can't have a good economy if we have people don't have any access to affordable child care. Anyway, it's a long-winded way of saying that, in addition to being dramatically affected by the economic consequences, minorities and women have totally borne the brunt of the disproportionately, not just of the economic impact, but also of the physical health impact. So we need to fix that with this 500 million infusion of new one-time only money. And I'd like to just introduce the first of our many. We have a number of speakers, and I urge everybody to pay close attention, because they're going to tell us firsthand why this small business community needs our support. And if we could first hear from Sean Stinnett, Director of Baltimore Main Street. Sean, welcome, and delighted to have you here.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Comptroller, and thank you for presenting the invitation to me so I can speak on behalf of, the small businesses within our main streets. My name is Sean Stinnett. I'm the Director of Baltimore Main Streets, as well as the Deputy Director of the Mayor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women-Owned Business Development. And speaking of just Baltimore Main Streets, we have 8 Main Street locations within Baltimore City. They're in areas of Pigtown, Federal Hill, Fells Point, Waverly, Hamilton, Laurelville, Highlandtown, and Pennsylvania Avenue. And of course, throughout all of these business districts, we have thousands of of minority and women-owned businesses that have been hit very hard during this pandemic. And we still have some businesses that haven't yet to be able to open back up because of just the challenges as far as whether it being operating cost and the increase of food costs and supplies and so forth. Now, I do want to say that, Mayor Scott has done a phenomenal job as far as allocating, $55 million, and $25 million of that going to our small, minority, and women-owned businesses. However, every financial opportunity is definitely needed, that we definitely need to increase our efforts across the board. Because like I said, I hear these messages as far as these outcries, on an everyday basis of just the challenges that a lot of our businesses within our main street sites are just having, to continue having the difficulty. So we're doing, different ways as far as in bringing in different resources and so forth. But as far as having that additional allocation of funds coming to our main street sites will be definitely very, very beneficial. Could really put a couple of steps forward as far as really getting back to some type of normalcy. There's a lot of businesses still going through a prorated time schedule as far as the opening and closing their facilities because of the staffing struggles. A lot of staff haven't been able to come back because of the financial situation of those particular businesses. but we hope that in any, as far as financial help, that, you know, things can improve and we can really strengthen overall to me, what I look at, and just like how you mentioned, just the foundation of our economic portfolio when it comes to, you know, these small minority and women-owned businesses. So this would definitely help, and I can say that you know, that I comfortably, you know, support and endorse as far as the comptroller's proposal for this $500 million to be, you know, allocated towards the small minority and women-owned business community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean, very much. And please give my regards to the leadership in Baltimore City. I know there are many challenges, but this one, you seem to be particularly attuned. So make sure you let your local delegation know that this is something that would be very, very helpful. And thank you very much for your very concise presentation. Next up is Jeff Burton, Executive Director of Bethesda Urban Partnership. Jeff.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Comptroller. My name is Jeff Burton. I'm the Executive Director at the Bethesda Urban Partnership. Our mission is simple for our organization. It's to create an environment in which downtown Bethesda businesses and residents can thrive and prosper. We do this through three primary key areas of focus: maintenance, marketing, and mobility. And we have been responsible for doing this and for the stewardship of our downtown since 1994. I'd like to thank the Comptroller for the opportunity to share today, and also thank him and the Governor for their tireless support of local small businesses over the years, and commend them for continuing to realize the key role they play in making our downtowns and state economies healthy and vibrant. Here in downtown Bethesda, we have seen firsthand the toll that COVID-19 has taken on our local small businesses. Many of them have had to either completely close or barely hang on while dealing with staff layoffs, employees leaving to choose different careers, capacity limits, supply chain issues, and now finding difficulties finding new staff as demand has increased. These local small businesses are the lifeblood of our community and economy, providing us places to connect on a personal level, something that has been extremely difficult and needed during this pandemic. They are also the economic engines of our tax base in both our counties and states, and they are owned and staffed by the fathers, mothers, brothers, and sisters that call this great state home. We support any and all efforts by the Comptroller and government that would provide much needed assistance to help these local small businesses weather the recovery and rebirth they so deserve as we come out of this incredibly difficult time. Thank you again, Comptroller, for your support.
Jeff, thank you very much. And, you know, if you just combine the legislative representatives of the previous speakers, Sean Stinnett up in Baltimore, the Baltimore region, and Jeff, you and your reach down in the Washington area, I can't tell you how responsive. And I, as a former legislator, often we're looking for the right focus for what we can do with a one-time windfall like this. And so I emphasize once again, talking to your local delegates and senators, and let them have the idea. It doesn't have to be my idea. Trust me. Just tell them that a direct allocation within 48 hours to businesses identified by you and your colleagues in these different communities around the state, that can be done. And it's a game changer. So, Jeff, thank you for your comments. Next up is Nadia Clute, business consultant at Maryland Small Business Development Center. And let me just join in with Sean and Jeff, who mentioned Governor Hogan. Governor Hogan's a type of governor that could take the big ledger down from the top shelf, open it up, blow the dust off it, and literally allocate this money within 48 hours to tens of thousands of small businesses. And doesn't have to be a big amount, but it has to be, no questions asked. We would basically look to your groups to determine who should get a survival check from the state of Maryland. And once they get through the next 2 months, we find that the summer season or the spring season a lot of businesses are able to get their feet back underneath them. I've deferred their taxes for 90 days. So that's another boost to them. But this money, I think if you guys contact your local delegations, just send them this press conference, I think this could have a big impact in legislative thinking right now. So Nadia, I'm sorry to jump in, but welcome. I wanted to give some kudos to Governor Hogan because he is a champion of small business.
Thank you, Comptroller, and I appreciate the opportunity of being here today to speak on behalf of all the small business owners that we serve on a daily basis. My name is Nadia Clute, and I am the Montgomery and Frederick County business consultant, and I am here representing Maryland Small Business Development Center and the SBDC Hispanic Business Center. We are a nonprofit organization that offers no-cost consulting and training to small business owners. We appreciate the opportunity to be here today to speak on behalf of all of the small businesses and clients, including Hispanic business owners that we support daily, who prefer our services in their own language. During COVID, all of our consultants work around the clock to provide all the available guidance and resources. 10 to 12 hours of work days were typical. Moreover, the stress was immense for our consultants. Small business owners are still struggling and adjusting to the new ways of operating their businesses. They are still dealing with the staff shortage. They are working on renegotiating financial debt, including getting caught up on rent payments with their landlords. At the same time, most of the Hispanic and other minority clients we serve couldn't take advantage of some of the available assistance and are still up to this day struggling to keep their business open. The 2021 Small Business Credit Survey indicated that 57% of businesses have fared to poor financial conditions. 66% of Hispanic companies indicated that they have poor financial conditions. According even to our internal data, significantly more minority business clients had very large or significant adverse impacts from the pandemic. We have received more requests to assist minority small businesses compared to other years pre-pandemic. We support the Comptroller's proposal to dedicate at least $500 million to help small businesses to keep their doors open and in operation. Thank you.
And by the way, many of our immigrant residents of the state who lack a Social Security number are specifically ruled out of any federal aid, if you can believe it. We changed that in Maryland a little bit and at least made so-called ITIN holders who did not have Social Security numbers eligible for aid. But everybody who is contributing to the economy in the state, and I know who they are because these generally Hispanic small businesses pay taxes to the comptroller's office, and they're ineligible often for any kind of assistance and specifically prohibited by the federal government. So this is a bit of a difficult issue that we have to deal with nationally. Nadia, thank you for that and your advocacy. Now we're going to hear directly from some business owners across the state who are doing their best in the face of the pandemic. And on behalf of government, could I just apologize to each of you because we're like waffling up here in politics these days. One day we're for masks, next day we're not for masks. One day we're for vaccines, next day we're not for vaccines. Who knows what the criteria are these days or what the local jurisdictions and districts are doing as far as restrictions on you. I can't emphasize enough that government is going through a period where we will report to you good best business practices and you know how to deal right with the pandemic. But it's been trial and error, and it's a school of hard knocks, and government is getting understandably criticized because of its ever-changing policies. And I want to thank Marigo Miller for being here. She's co-owner of the Abbey Burger Bistro, which has 3 locations in Baltimore City and 1 in Havre de Grace. And Marigo, welcome, and whatever you want to say, and God bless you for keeping your head above water.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me today. And thank you for visiting a couple of my locations recently and in the past. I appreciate your support with this and an open ear that you always have for us. So I appreciate your support for the small businesses. Like he said, my name is Marigo Miller. I am the co-owner of the Abbey Burger. Abbey Burger is a family-friendly restaurant restaurant bar that offers a variety of different types of burgers, from vegan to veggie to shrimp to exotic meats, and milkshakes and a full bar. But we also really cater to diverse populations. I work with children with autism and adults with autism. So I have trained them and hired them and opened our doors to fundraising and awareness events. The Abbey Burger started 13 years ago in Federal Hill by my husband when I was a special education teacher. And very quickly, I kind of morphed my love for the restaurant business with my passion to work with those with autism, and stopped working as a full-time teacher and started integrating it into the restaurants and became co-owner starting 9 years ago with our second location in Ocean City, which unfortunately we lost during COVID. It was not sustainable. Followed by that opening, we opened up Fells Point. And then a couple months before COVID, we opened up Mount Washington. And we were slated to open Habit of Grace a couple months after the pandemic. And obviously, everything, that time warp that happened, we didn't open up until this past July. So there was like a 2-year process to open that one. So obviously the COVID hit everybody and we pivoted, and I've never worked harder and reaped, had more stress, seen less gains, more struggles. But we are fighting, and we continue to fight because we are an Abbey family. We hire a lot of families, people that come from the same family. We, when we are able to open our doors, we, love having families. Like, we kind of think of ourselves as kind of like a Cheers bar, family friendly and atmosphere, that we have a lot of regulars, people that have worked for us for a long time. We do value all of this. And when we had to shut our doors or just do carry out, it wasn't cost effective because we're not a carry out only business, but we got the PPP and we were very grateful. But in order to make it worth everybody's while and their time, we made sure that everybody who got at least $15 an hour, even people who were, if they wanted to work, they could work and they could get, a livable wage. But that came, luckily, some through the PPP, and a lot, through money that we had through loans. Able to make people make enough money, even if they had previously just been working off of tips. So as our sales stayed way low and our costs way up and our labor way up and every service that we outsourced way up, and our profit, if we saw it, was minimal, we've just gone down and down. And it continues to be a struggle. Every week we're looking at payroll. Are we going to make it this week? Because it is the harder months for the restaurants, and we do hope, we're hopeful. I keep being hopeful, but sometimes it gets discouraging. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of drive right now, like, for people to come into Baltimore for the small businesses. I fell in love with Baltimore as Charm City for the small businesses. That's what it means to me. But it's like breaking my heart. I don't know, between COVID or the news is like, horrible crime. And I'm like, I don't know. Baltimore, I love this city. I mean, we have, 3 restaurants here and we have close to 150 employees, and a lot of them have been there since day one. And, well, not 150 when we had one place, but I don't want to lose this for our family or the Abbey family or the community families. But it's definitely hard. And even being, the PPPs were helpful and the loans were helpful, but we don't want more loans, because that is definitely a scary factor when we know how bad it is, and then we also think about what we still owe on top of it. The restaurant relief grant sounded amazing, but even being majority woman owned, I applied, and I was able to apply in the first 21 days. But if you got it, you got a lot. If you didn't, you got zero. So it was like the have-a-lots and have-nots, and I know people who did get it, and I am very happy for them. Unfortunately, that's not a universal thing, and I want to stay alive in the Abbey Burger and everybody that we support within our employees and the community and our family as well, and for all of the other small businesses out there. So I appreciate your time and having me come speak and fighting for this cause. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Marigo. That was incredible testimony. The state of Maryland should write out today a $50,000 check to you for your resiliency and for your dedication, not just to Maryland, but to the city of Baltimore. And all those loans that small businesses have taken out, they all should be looked at by the legislature and the governor. Where appropriate, they should be forgiven. I mean, this is what Marigo described is too often the case. The haves get it. The people that have lawyers and accountants and big companies that they can hire to make grant applications, they get the money. But businesses like Marigo with her husband or whatever, God bless you, Marigo. And I hope somebody watching this is affiliated with the governor. We need to take something and just make sure you understand how much we value and appreciate what you're going through. And let me know about your situation with those loans, because I think it may be, unfortunately, familiar to a lot of your colleagues particularly in the hospitality sector. But we need to do something special right now. And thank you for your testimony. Up next is Craig Martin, owner of the QG. Did I pronounce that correctly? And Baltimore City. Craig, thank you and welcome.
No, thanks for having me. And, I just wanted to share, I have a charity, Bourbon and Ties. And even during this pandemic, offered free food for the event. And just shows you that there's an immense amount of charity out there, even during these difficult times, that people are willing to help and assist. So I just wanted to mention that first. So my name is Craig Martin. I own the QG. We offer services in retail. We have a restaurant. We would qualify ourselves as a hospitality company. We are a one-of-a-kind business that helps busy professionals struggle finding time by conveniently combining everything that one can help them look their best head to toe inside a social club atmosphere, which includes 2 lounges and a restaurant bar. We have about 16,000 square feet in our downtown location near the harbor on Calvert and Lombard Streets. And we have a small satellite location in Hunt Valley, both in which we rent. We are in our 17th year of operation. I want to thank you for allowing me the time to participate, and I hope I can give voice to others, especially in the hospitality industry and small retailers in the state. As new variants and restrictions are still here, our business is on the verge of needing life support. This is a quick summary of what the pandemic has done to us. First of all, our whole business plan revolves around supporting business professionals. Many of the buildings around both locations are still empty. Every time businesses started coming back, a new variant seems to send them back home. The sending to work or going back home seems very quick, but coming back is always very slow. Quick summary of the bullets that the pandemic has affected us and still affects us today. Our sales in 2020 dropped 70%. Our sales in 21 and 22 so far are down 40%. Our staff went from 48 full-time employees to today we have 22, half of them are working part-time. I had 4 women staff who just had little kids just prior to the pandemic, all quit because of the perceived risks, and none have returned. We were closed right as we received all of our summer spring inventory, which was over 100,000, and we had to liquidate all of it at a major loss to keep up cash flow. I was blessed to receive the first PPP early, and I can remember those sleepless nights of wondering if it would actually come through. But we were still closed. My staff couldn't work remotely. Our biggest challenge is still people are not coming back to work and finding staff to fill open positions. And the supply chain has been crazy, hectic, and the inflation's out of control. We're just hoping to get back and make it through.
Oh, great. Craig, thank you very much for that. I'm very, very impressed by your resilience and your ability to stay there. Just hang in another three to 4 weeks and make sure you communicate your message. And it's obviously something that we need to immediately get something to you in addition to what you've already received. And just God bless you for hanging in there. And hopefully the next variant won't show up for a couple of years. And I'm sorry, I really, really empathize with you for what you're going through right now. And just you are a symbol of how impactful all of this is. Next, thank you, Craig. Next, we're going to hear from Corinne Sawyer, co-owner of the Family Room in Laytonsville, Maryland. Corinne.
I was so excited, I forgot to unmute myself.
Welcome.
Hello, thank you so much, Mr. Comptroller, for having us on. And you visited our store a couple of years ago, and I'm happy to announce that today is actually our 4th birthday. We have been in business for 4 years, and again, we're very grateful for your support over the years and for having me on today. As he said, I am Corinne Sawyer. I am the co-owner of the Family Room, along with my mom, Kim Glab. We are the little shop around the corner. We sell locally made ice cream. We have a wide variety of unique and beautiful handmade gifts and crafts. We also support over 30 Maryland small businesses within our store and upwards of 50 through different events that we host outside of the shop as well. During the pandemic, it was definitely, as you've been hearing from all of these other amazing small business owners, it was quite a struggle. We were so excited going into 2020 with all of the momentum that we had built as a brand new company in our community, and quickly had to change gears to really serving the needs that the community had. We decided to totally switch gears and start carrying locally sourced food from local farmers. We had over 5 different farmers here that would bring in their goods so that we were able to do curbside pickup for the families in our community, as well as just kind of providing them something to look forward to at the end of each day. We would just be the spot where people could go and get milk when there wasn't any milk in the grocery store, and they could pick up a game or a puzzle or a fun project to do with their family, something that was just kind of a bright spot during such a crazy time. As we moved into the summer and we were finally able to actually open up the doors and no longer do curbside pickup, we started focusing on supporting small businesses in our community with doing our Friday night cars and cones and bringing in food trucks, which were a lot of food trucks actually were started during the pandemic as just a new way for people who were working and were losing their jobs or were trying to change their careers. So many new food trucks in our community were started, and so we took that as an opportunity to support them in what they were doing, help them grow in their small businesses. We brought them in on Friday nights where we had our classic car show and our ice cream, which was really fun for us just because we got to create a really fun, safe outdoor environment for families to enjoy, but also get to support these amazing entrepreneurs at the same time. We also totally ramped up our market days. We hosted over 35 additional Maryland small businesses in our parking lot throughout 2020 and 2021. We were able to help all of them grow and succeed. I know many of you know that although there were big businesses that were closed, there were a lot of smaller at-home small businesses that began. A lot of people that were just trying to make ends meet, and they used their creative energy to start something new. And we were able to support those businesses and get dollars back into Marylanders' pockets, which was just so rewarding for us, but also so much fun, and creating outdoor events that people felt safe with going to, and families enjoyed, and just creating this happy environment when there were so many crazy things going on around the world and around our state and the country. So I know for us, one of the things that would really benefit us if we were to receive some of these additional funds would be to just be able to continue to support some of these small businesses. A lot of our own time and energy and finances have gone into helping other Maryland businesses grow, along with keeping our store open. I mean, you've already heard that prices on everything have gone up. It's hard to find labor. It's all of these things that have been so hard, and having the additional funds would make it possible for us to be able to get more employees, to be able to help cover some of the costs that things are, everything was increasing, be able to help cover some of those costs, but also be able to invest that money back into our community, back into other Maryland small businesses. So I would love to be a part of that additional funds coming in, and I hope that the governor is able to help provide some of us, our small businesses, with that. Thank you.
Excellent. Corinne, thank you very much. And once again, it just, I can't emphasize enough that you need to contact your local delegations and those in surrounding counties if you happen to have connections elsewhere, and urge them to do the right thing. Because all of you, all the small businesses on the call, and Craig, Corinne, and we're going to get to Samantha in just a minute. This paycheck protection plan that was so successful from the federal government, was all that money's tax-free. I've made this 90-day interest-free, penalty-free loan, and for 2 years, we're doing it for a third year, and we're also adding in the first quarter estimated tax payment. We're going to be announcing that probably next week. Why do we do that? Because that's money that's in your pocket. Yes, you could send it to us on April 15th, but wouldn't you rather send it on July 15th? Because, we get into the summer season. So anyway, I'm just suggesting some talking points that when you guys call your local or your, the state officials, but you can also talk to the local officials too. And to the extent they can create a drumbeat for taking a percentage of this one-time only windfall money, a percentage, just, a 1/12 of it, and distribute it to you guys, not the guys that have already gotten all the money. I'm talking about folks like the ones that are testifying today. So next, last but not least, is Samantha Klassen, owner of Golden West Cafe in Baltimore City. Samantha, I'm delighted you're here, and please give us your presentation.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Franchot. A pleasure to be on with you today. I really appreciate all of the support throughout the pandemic that your office has given us. I feel like all of your policies and all the moves that you made have been incredibly thoughtful for all of us as small business owners, and every little bit helps. Deferring taxes, even just a couple months, makes a huge difference in how we pay bills, how people cash their checks, and how we keep the lights on. want to reiterate, I think, what every small business that you talk to is suffering, right? We have not come out of this. We're not going to come out of this for some time. And particularly for us in the service industry, Marigot, I know that her story was very similar to my own. And I think most people that have restaurants, for us, you're talking about an airborne virus. So, for us, it's like, okay, well, we're immediately shut down. And it really was utter devastation, right? Like on the scale of a natural disaster that has lasted for 2 years. And we know that there's more coming. There's not really like a sense of this being, coming to a close anytime soon. But those initial days, the despair that everyone felt, the loss of stability, the loss of, security. Will we lose everything? What about our families? What about our people? What about their families? How are we going to survive this, and for how long? I'm super grateful that you had us here today. I think that I speak for myself and countless other businesses across the state that are still in need of assistance. While we've made certainly some progress, not out of the woods, and we have got to catch a break to see the end of this. Teamwork makes the dream work, as we like to say in our biz, and we cannot do it without the local legislature, without Mr. Comptroller, and without you, Governor Hogan. I am Samantha Klassen. I'm owner of the Golden West Cafe in the Hamden neighborhood of Baltimore City. I have the distinct privilege of being an owner and employer of nearly 50 Baltimore City residents and part of our Hamden community since 1997. It has been a long road. When everything was starting to really get intense in March of 2020, I came to work one day. I had to pick up chilies from New Mexico. We fly them in from New Mexico. And when I arrived, we were packed. The news was full of stories, people getting sick. And I looked inside the window as we were unloading these chilies and just saw so many people eating breakfast, smiling, maskless. I mean, mask was not even a thing then, right? Our staff waiting tables. And it just occurred to me, people are going to keep coming. And I need to do something. And so we closed, before the governor issued his order to shut everything down, we closed. And I told all of our staff, with a heavy heart, go home immediately and file for unemployment. I have to furlough you. Hopefully this won't be long. Maybe we'll be back in June, which they did. We kept a skeleton crew on and immediately pivoted to takeout. It was a lot. Those early days, what are we going to do? All of the money for payroll, and people that don't own businesses might not know, especially like in a restaurant setting, a lot of our stuff is, like on terms, right? So we pay 7 days or 21 days. All of the purchases that we had made when we were at full capacity and open and, this pre-shutdown, all those came due while we were closed. And what do? You start to ask all of your vendors for help, for grace, forgiveness, like, please, like, what can we do? We'll get on any kind of term possible. I'll pay you $100 a week. Anything not to shut us down. Please keep supplying us so that we can stay open and stay afloat. The panic, the stress of all of that has subsided a little bit. Those PPP loans were a life raft and 100% got us through. We bonused every person on our staff with that PPP money. We paid hazard pay. We had extra dollars on their stuff. We actually instituted a service charge. We were having a lot of issues with people not tipping. And while everyone was still making minimum wage, we felt like they were really going above and beyond to be someplace, to be in danger. And really what they were offering our community, when it's not only support, but a sense of normalcy. And how impactful that was to people during the initial lockdown was really something that I could not have known until later, when people really were like, thank you so much just for being here. It feels so good to still get food from our weekly spot. What we did initially too was we used any extra money we had, combined our resources, Jason Bass, the Revival Hotel, Suncoast Produce. We really got in touch with all of these people and we're just like, hey, we need help. I've got all these furloughed people. I got to get them groceries. You immediately go into crisis management. And I think that for people in our service industry, you are used to that. You're putting out fires all the time, and you're pivoting and you're just going from thing to thing, trying to make everything work, get to the next day, get to the next week. But it feels like post-pandemic, or post-lockdown, excuse me, what are we going to do? It seems that in Washington, D.C., they've really let go of any idea of supporting our small businesses. And I can tell you that it impacts everyone enormously to see things go away that we love. One of my good friends in a small business, Trove, which used to be on our block, they could not pay their rent. They could not get a PPP because of the way the rent dynamics and payroll percentages worked out. They were stuck. And we lost them, and they were an anchor for our community, and they supported a ton of local artists, local businesses. And we try to do the exact same thing. As another woman-owned business, we're like, how can we support? How can we support minority businesses? How can we support women-owned businesses? How can we support micro businesses that are working out of community kitchens? We got a leg up somehow. So how can we use whatever our resources are to help those folks? We were extremely fortunate to have community support. We were extremely fortunate to have vendors and providers help us get groceries for our staff for the first 30 weeks, 6 months of the lockdown. We provided weekly groceries to our staff, and any artist, performer, person that had assisted us, just in our growth as a business. What a time. The supply chain issues started immediately. They've continued to this day. We're racking our brains with intense reports in terms of like food costs. We have not raised the cost of food since the pandemic, because we were really hedging our bets and hoping that this would settle down and subside. It is not. We are seeing a lot of our products go up 40, 50% or more. It is getting very difficult to make money, to keep the lights on, to provide things that we want to do for our staff. We are paying more and more, and they are worth it 1,000%, because they are the backbone of everything that we do. I love so much the idea of being able to give money to individuals throughout the state of Maryland. I support all of these ideas because it just makes sense. Number one, we got it. Number two, we know it works. And we will have a better Maryland tomorrow for it. Something that I feel like Mr. Franchot has done in his time is put the money where it's needed. And when we put money into the hands of people in need, families in need, it goes right back into the community. When you put money into the hands of business owners, like Marigo, like myself, like so many other small businesses all throughout Maryland, that money is going back into the community. We're donating gift cards to support, the rec center, to support Little League. We're supporting, schools, and we're having fundraisers. We're still doing this in the midst of a global pandemic. And we can continue to do that with assistance. And I am, again, so grateful to be part of this. Moving forward, I look forward to more conversations, ways to do this. Mr. Stinnett, you and Mayor Scott, huge fans. And I look forward to working with you guys as well to sort of see the way out of this over the next few years. So I want to thank you for your time.
Sam, Sam, thank you very much. That's fabulous testimony. Much appreciated. My thanks to all of you who shared stories today. Obviously, you and tens of thousands of other small business owners are prime examples of the people who really need the state's help, who received some of it. Some of you received it, but now we need it still. So I urge everyone watching today to make sure your state elected officials know that you support small business owners receiving $500 million from our $6 billion state surplus. I emphasize again, if the governor and the legislature just leaned out the window and said, Mr. Comptroller, you don't have to put this through some complicated application process. We want you to deliver it in 48 hours, fraud-free, to the small businesses who need it. I can do that. But obviously I can't do it without the approval of the governor and legislature, but it doesn't have to be a tremendously complicated thing through the earned income tax credit or something like that proposal. I'm not talking about tax relief. I'm talking about putting a $50,000 check in Sam's cafe and thanking her for everything that she and each of you, Craig particularly, represent. And it should be tax-free, just like the Paycheck Protection Plan. So I urge everyone to get in touch with whoever they are that represent you, wherever they are, whatever level, and tell them that $500 million will help keep businesses like yours open and ensure that fellow Marylanders can support their families. And couldn't agree more with the fact that this has a multiplier effect, this money, because it gets immediately spent locally. I want to thank everyone on the call for everything you've done for our communities. Obviously, resiliency is the key. I say it's frankly time for some of us to return the favor to what you all have done. So I want to thank all the speakers and everyone who helped organize this call. And I'd like to turn it over to Alan Brody, who will relay any questions from panelists or myself from media.
Yes, sir. So we do have two questions from Lorraine Mirabella from the Baltimore Sun. She asks you, what needs to happen on the part of the governor's office and the legislature for your proposal to get approval?
Well, that's a very good question, but all I'm suggesting is it can be done very quickly. And every 2 weeks, I serve on the Board of Public Works with the governor and the state treasurer, for example, and we vote on average for $450 million in state contracts. That's just a regular course of business. And this is not rocket science. This is just the legislative leaders and the governor getting together and saying, we understand that there's a tremendous potential here if we put this money in the where it's actually needed right now in order to allow these small businesses to survive. And if they direct me to do it, we have the money. It's in the checking account. It's just sitting there, gathering dust right now. And it should be allocated and spent immediately. And you've heard several stories today to that point. So thank you. That's a good question, Lorraine. I know you're always interested in the business part of all of this. But we're still, as someone said, we're still dealing with whatever it is, 13 or 14,000 deaths and 1 million cases of COVID. And we need to make sure that we don't inadvertently lose through wishful thinking or good intentions, for example, another 10,000 small businesses simply by failing to act. So acting is not the problem. Doing it fraud-free is not an issue. Do we have can we put this money electronically quickly in people's bank accounts? Yes. Should we? Yes. It's obviously essential. And someone mentioned that a lot of the other programs are drying up. But the key here is immediacy. No immediacy, no relief. Immediacy. That's what we need. So thank you, Lorraine, for that message or question. Alan, you said there was maybe another question?
Yep, it's also from Lorraine. She has a follow-up. She wants to know, how would it be determined how much each business would receive and which businesses would receive grants?
Well, that is something the governor and the legislature could look at. We're happy to supply them the data that we have that shows the need is there. And every main street in the state could very quickly assemble a list of their critical. This is not something that should just be 140,000 small businesses. Let's divide it into 500 million. No, that's not the point. Our communities know who is held on and who's hanging by a thread and who would benefit from a no questions asked check, not an application process, a check. And I'm sure that we'll be happy to work with the legislature and the governor, and always have been, as far as since we have proven that we can deliver billions of dollars of relief almost immediately. We did it with $473,500 relief checks. That wasn't a billion, but it was 473,000 transactions that when the legislature and the governor approved it, bingo, we delivered within 2 days. I mean, the need is now. You wait, we're going to lose another 10,000. And that would be a tragedy, given what these unbelievable geniuses of the private sector, I call them, have done for our communities. We owe it to them to do this. And, I'm cautiously optimistic that this will surface as the legislature and governor consider things, but it needs to happen yesterday.
One more question came in from Judy Ruse of the Greater Albany News. She wants to know, how will businesses know about this and how would they apply?
I'm not the person to design that, but what I'm suggesting is that the state not sit on this and give it first come, first serve, or, whoever can hire the best lobbyist or who can come up with the most extensive application. I'm saying take the big ledger down, come to me and direct me to give me some guidance as far as what local main streets and local municipalities and local counties say are their top recipients of a no questions asked check. That's what we need. I mean, we're all paralyzed by this sense that, well, someone fraudulently might get it. I'm talking about people that are in our tax rolls that we know are honest, we know are hardworking. We know them because they pay taxes to us year after year after year. We simply have to get the money to them and stop worrying about this Ronald Reagan thing of somebody somewhere getting a $10,000 grant that they didn't deserve. That's not the issue. It's the 10,000 divided into 500 million other people grants that need to be given. And I think that can be done. I'm sure within a 10-day period, the names could all be gathered and we could vet them in our tax rolls. And most importantly, frankly, once we have their names and get a thumbs up, we can put the money in their account immediately. Because almost every taxpayer is connected electronically to us. And the key there is that there's no wide-scale fraud. But right now, the decision makers are paralyzed by the concept that we can't do anything fast, we can't do anything immediate, we can't do anything really to help our small business community because we're afraid one person out there somewhere in the forest might inappropriately get a grant. That's the sad state of affairs that we're in. So give me the okay, give me the names or the general parameters, and we'll get the job done. Enough talk. Let's get the job done. And so we'll see. I'm relatively positive thinking that we're going to get something that is similar to what we're asking for here, and it's well within the immediate reach of both the legislature and the governor. Frankly, the governor could probably do some of it himself right now under whatever emergency powers he's still working under. We're still approving on a every other week basis tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in so-called emergency contracts. This is an emergency. Please help.
That concludes the questions that we have received.
Thank you, everybody. God bless. And we're going to end the press conference. And anybody has questions, they can always contact me. For our panelists, just write down my personal cell number. It's 301 area code 332-1961. 301-332-1961. You can text or voicemail me if you need help with anything from the agency. We can obviously turn that around very quickly. But thank you for participating. I appreciate it. And God bless the state of Maryland.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.